The game Pong introduced America to a new form of entertainment. To tell us the story of how video games became part of our pop culture is author of All Your Base Are Belong to Us, Harold Goldberg. Harold, how are you?
I'm good, Shelly. How are you?
All Your Base Are Belong to Us. What a wonderful book, and it's doing well, going to do well, is fantastic, can get on Amazon. Tell me about the book.
It's out, and there's been a fair amount of media, including you, that have seemed to enjoy it. So who knows what'll happen with it?
Well, it's a book about sort of the story of video games in our pop culture, and Pong started the whole thing.
Well, it started a bit before Pong, but Nolan Bushnell, with his kind of big, carny personality, just took that Pong and made it a worldwide phenomenon. And basically, Bushnell kind of cribbed it from a guy named Ralph Baer, who created the first console, the Magnavox Odyssey.
Date everybody. How long ago was Pong? I remember Pong. I do actually remember it, but how long ago was it?
Pong was like the early 70s, possibly 72.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. It dates us all, but...
and Atari was really the high-tech company of the decade, right? I mean, in the 70s, as video games really started to, from Pong to, I guess, Space Invaders and Asteroids and all those bar games that you could play, and then ultimately arcade games, that was kind of a little rock star company.
It was a rock star company, and they kind of acted like rock stars. Certainly Nolan Bushnell did. There were sex parties and smoking of pot and God knows what. Lots of rock and roll blaring. It was, of course that was the time. It was kind of a hippie-ish time. So they weren't the only ones doing that.
No, obviously not. So the technology really was remarkable. They took good old-fashioned NTSC television and they figured out a way to manipulate it, consumers to manipulate it without knowing they were on a TV set. And in the old days, not only did you hook it to your TV set, really you used, that was it, that was the technology. How does that evolution track? Was it the sociology that made these games work, or did these guys just make technological breakthroughs that just capture people's imaginations? What drove what?
I think it's both, but when something catches on in pop culture, it just keeps on going. And they sold Atari to Warner and Warner Brothers, and it just got bigger and bigger, and it got so big that they paid Steven Spielberg the same amount of money they paid for the company to release an E.T. game. And the E.T. game was so bad, it caused this huge recession in the industry. So for a few years, video games were considered this fad that would never come back. But then it did come back.
Was it the E.T. failure that actually drove that sentiment that, okay, this has jumped the shark, it's over?
Completely and totally. No retailer wanted to take a chance on games for a while, and they had to take the remaining E.T. games to this landfill in New Mexico and crush them up and put them in the desert so no one would ever see them again.
I didn't actually play the E.T. game because back then I was a fan, and I was old enough at that point, believe me, to still be in video games. But wow, I do remember it being a dismal and horrifying failure. Glad it came back. What's going to be the newest, bestest thing in the whole world?
Well, despite some problems, I really like the potential of the Nintendo 3DS. So I'm looking forward to that, and Portal 2, which is kind of a fun game coming out.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you'll come back and tell us all about it. Harold Goldberg, the author of All Your Base Are Belong to Us. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Shelly.
I'm Shelly Palmer, and you're watching Live Digital.